Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So as I had mentioned last time and later on in the chats also, today we are going to take up a lot of queries, lot of thoughts that have come to me. But before that, let us simply dwell into what we spoke last time. What do we mean by the end of the world? We hear that very often, end of the world. End of the world meaning what? Now, we understood last time that my world consists of my thoughts, the people or the things or those which are important to me, which are relevant to me, which are known to me. Beyond that, my world does not exist. So that which is unknown to me, that which is not in the realm of my thoughts, my emotions, my connections, is not my world. But your world could be different. It could have a part of my world, it could have a part of your world also. So it is every one of us who are living in our own private world of the things that we know of, that the things that we experience, the things that we, or things, beings, emotions, thoughts, everything that is connected with that. So collectively, so when I go to sleep, my world ends, and when I wake up, my world starts again in same continuity as it was when I went to sleep. So collectively, if all of us go to sleep at the same time, all of us are asleep, the entire universe is asleep, which is a impossibility. But assuming that the entire world is asleep, the world is ended, because all our worlds have ended. And that doesn't happen because at any given time, a few of us are always awake, because that is the nature of the time zones in the world itself. So when we look at it that way, that the world that is awake, the world that is happening now, is the world of each of us, who are awake, and that world is manifesting itself. When we are asleep, that world is not manifesting, it is unmanifested. This is what we understood. So similarly, the imprints of our own past tendencies, our own past vasanas, those imprints because of which our personality is what it is. Now, they also similarly end when we go to sleep, and they wake up with the same continuity when we are awake. Similarly, everybody else in the world also, likewise in the thought world also. So growing out of our imprints, growing out of our tendencies, growing out of our vasanas is a choice based action for each of us. Nobody is an exception to that. We watch many movies on extinction of the world. Mostly Hollywood movies. They say that the world is going to come to an extinction. Some extraterrestrial something comes about, etc. And then they are going to invade us from outer planets, etc. And because of that, this world that we know of is going to end, etc. The thought itself is of something from outside which is going to come and destroy the world that we identify with. But let us also understand from what we now learned that the extinction of our world is on the basis of our own thoughts, our own actions. If we stop associating with certain thoughts, that world is ended for us. If we stop associating with certain actions and that is no longer in our realm, that world is ended for us. So this is what we understood. And we also realized that I need to change. It is left to me to change for recognizing this change which is happening all around me. Only when I change. Because if I associate with whatever is my thought process, nothing will change because it is my world. So I become the observer of my thoughts, I become the observer of my actions, my moments, in my own mind and intellect, within my own world. Now once I recognize that this principle is working, this principle of change is in operation within me, and that there is a higher reality which is energizing all these things, there are no limitations within me. Because I understand that it is my change which is going to bring about a change in the world around me. That is how I recognized the changeless, imperishable Brahman, that is the supreme reality, the supreme Brahman that we spoke about. Now, and for that recognition to actually occur in me, I need total loving devotion to the Lord. Lord meaning that highest principle. So that recognition of this change happening around me and that it is my world which has to change, that devotion is required to the Lord. And that devotion is not in the nature of, oh Lord, give me this, oh Lord, do this, oh Lord, do this, I want this, I want this. No. We have to give devotion, because when we give devotion, devotion is what? Love. When we give love, what will we get back? We will get love. So with other people in the world, we can say, I fall in love. I love that girl. I really fallen for her. But when you're talking about associating with that higher principle, we have to rise in our love. When we rise in our love, we can claim that we are devoted. Now that depends on what is the altar of our love. If the altar of our love is that highest principle, if the altar of love is something higher than us, than my limited association, we are associating that devotion with God. Now, from the beginning of this entire journey of I Own My Life, this entire webinar in 24 sessions so far, till chapter 8, which we concluded last time, we moved away now last time gradually from a working understanding to a little bit of technical domain of understanding. So, as I said, in the understanding, some ease, some simplicity is required. So I said it is necessary at this moment that I create a session where you will be able to exchange your thoughts or your queries or your doubts or whatever comes to your mind. And so this session will be necessary. And I'm going to repeat this now after we finish chapter 15 also. Similarly, I would request all of you to come up with whatever suggestions you have. So I did not receive a lot. I received some questions. I received certain thoughts. I received certain reflections. So I'm going to discuss those first before we take it forward, like how I said in the message. So I'm going to share a slide first. So as I said, some reflections, some thoughts, some questions came about. So I thought I will share those. So I will share those and I'll share my explanation, if I can say so. So we say that we seem to know everything when we hear something, when something is told to us. For example, in this entire exercise of sharing whatever I'm doing, I've been doing for the last many weeks. When you hear, you seem to know what I am telling you. You seem to know that within your heart, within your mind, within your intellect. You say, oh yeah, it seems to be logical, it seems to be understandable. I think, yeah, I know that. This is what we seem to know. And then, having known that, we feel tongue-tied to ask anything. What is there to ask? Oh, I know. So you seem to be tongue-tied in asking questions. At the end of every session, I ask, do you have any queries? Do you have any questions? Most of the time, nobody comes up with any questions. So we seem to be tongue-tied with our questions. And we are probably, after the session, we are blank, or we are lost after the entire session, after listening everything. So, something doesn't seem to be registering, or maybe we don't seem to recall. The recall value of that is not so much. So, let us understand this a little better. Now, how did we learn new subjects? For example, in school, when we had our first session on, let's say, science and maths in the school, we had absolutely no clue about science. So the teacher explained certain things. We had a textbook. The teacher explained certain things, wrote things on a blackboard, and we tried to narrate what it is and try to explain to us what it is all about. Now, on the basis of that, we started writing notes. Whatever teacher said, we started writing notes, rough book, then fair book, etc. This process went on. And then subsequently, to prove the theorems that she brought about, probably in maths, the theorems that she brought about, or the science experiments that she wanted through laboratory, etc., that logic of that knowledge got firmed up in our minds. We understood that knowledge better. So then after that, what happens at the exam or before the exam, we revise it. We revise and then we write the exams. What is there? After the exam is over, we forget it till the next exam. So what happens is our entire knowledge basis is on the understanding of what is it that I need to learn with the focus on exam. It is not with the focus of getting that knowledge. So till the next exam, this goes on. Now this happens math, science, geography, history, grammar, etc., etc. But can you recall having written down notes for civics or for moral science, etc.? Those are things which are said, how civic society must behave, how morally we must conduct ourselves. I don't remember having, as children having written notes, etc. It is like, invariably a textbook that we used to read because we thought that we knew. Because what is civic behavior? What is morality? What is moral science? We thought that we knew. So the subsequent learning never happened at the practical level in the school of life itself. So the song that comes to my mind is सब कुछ सीखा हमने ना सीखी होशियारी सच है दुनिया वालों के हम हैं अनाड़ी. This is how we were. So that is the situation even now. When we are told certain things like this, we seem to know. But after that, when it comes to application in the practical laboratory of our own lives, we seem not to remember it. So life knowledge that we are talking about is actually known to all of us. How to lead life is all known to all of us. What we have done is we have covered that, hidden that by our ignorance about it. Our ignorance is covered by whatever we want to do now to satisfy my desire for the moment. That is what is covering our knowledge about this. So we are not able to take the next step forward. And why is it that we don't question? Why is it that we are tongue tied? It is ego. How do I say it is ego? The ego need not necessarily manifest ourselves in the form of, let's say, chappan inch ki chati. No, not required. The ego can also manifest itself in saying that, let's say we were in class and teacher is narrating something and suddenly she says, okay, who will answer this question? We are all waiting. Who will see? Who will do the answering? Who will do the answering? We never raise our hand first. Because if we are wrong, we will be proven wrong if I get up and say something which is not right. So I want rather that somebody else says it. And when somebody else says it, we think in our mind, Arey, this is exactly the thought I had in mind. But I did not get up because I did not want to be proven that I am a fool or I did not know. This is the mindset with which we approach the subject itself. So this also is ego, isn't it? This is what happens. We will take the next thought. Now, the next thought that I got was reflection on what we have imbibed in the course of these sessions. Whatever we have learned, that reflection is essential. We all agree, because as we gain, we should not be blank after the session is over. It is important for us to reflect because it is going to be useful to my life. That is necessary. But we need to know what we have learned. So if there is an exchange of conversation between us, and in that exchange we have shared some knowledge, have we known that knowledge? What we have learned, have we known it? We have just heard it, or we have just simply, said, oh, I understood. Is that the attitude? Or we really have known what that knowledge is? And if we have known, it is important that we need to practice what we have learned so that it can become useful and beneficial to us in our life. That is what we need to know. This is what we understand. So now when we go ahead, how to deal with this? Now, whatever it is that we learn, it is important for us to absorb that knowledge and really say that, yes, I have learned. For example, if I am learning a song, I cannot go on the belief that, yes, I can sing this song. I need to absorb how the song is flowing, what is the meter in which it is flowing, how are the syllables moving, how are the phrases moving. When I know that, only then I can say I have learned and I can sing that song. What is the problem with us is our studies are all geared towards exams and not knowledge. Right from childhood, our entire system of education is on the basis that our studies are geared towards exams and not towards knowledge. So we don't actually many times remember what we learnt in school or in college for applying that in our own real life, in the whatever we are doing with our life. So because our present fields of work may be different from what we studied. We studied certain subjects. For example, I studied accountancy, and supposing at this moment I am doing advertising business, what has got my accountancy to do with my advertising business? Nothing. So Many of the times what happens is the studies that we did in our school or in college, compelled by whatever may be the circumstances of choosing that education that we chose, at the moment the nature of work itself is different. So we need to understand that listening is essential for learning and then knowing it. Now what we do is invariably we hear with an intent either to respond mentally or physically. When we are in a conversation with two people and then we are having a conversation, when that person is saying, we hear with an intent to respond orally. But when we are now in this case, you are not responding anything. Now when you hear with the intent that I have to respond in my mind only, the mental chatter, no, I have to I have, this is how it is, this is what my mind is wanting to respond, then that is not listening. For listening, you need to hear with an intent to analyze what you have learned and to retain that analysis. So how do you retain the knowledge about the work that we do? For example, as I said, I am now doing advertising business. Whatever it is my client's requirement, whatever it is my my vendors' requirements, whatever it is that my team, my creative team, etc., their requirements are, I absorb that knowledge and I retain that knowledge because it is related to the work that I am doing, and that work is going to give me some anticipated gain because it is going to give me money, it is going to give me recognition, it is going to give me position, whatever it is. So there is an anticipated gain. So I absorb, I analyze, I understand, and I retain because there is an anticipated gain. Now, if I tell you that the gain arising out of this entire understanding of this knowledge is happiness, don't you want to be happy? Don't you want to be happy? All of us, that whatever we are doing, whatever work we are doing, whatever it is that we are pursuing, everything is ultimately for happiness, isn't it? So when I say that this knowledge that we absorb within ourselves, retain it, analyze it, and try to put it into use, it will keep me happy always. If I were to tell you that, then won't you say that, oh my God, this is what I want, isn't it? So for that, if you remember, I used the word last time, Abhyasa Yoga is necessary. Abhyasa Yoga meaning uh, the method of practicing what we have learned, the method of putting it into application, what I have learned, the method of revising within myself, what I have learned. It is not examination related revision like how we used to do in school. It is constantly reflecting on what we imbibed in the course of learning. Then that will become useful to me. This is the second thought that I had. Now the third thought. There are 6 of them. I'll just share. Now the next one was, there is in some of us a feeling that I need to guide others. Like, if I have absorbed this knowledge, or maybe I have learned this knowledge, maybe there is something which has come to my knowledge, and I want to use that to guide others. It is a thought which comes to us that, oh, it is very useful, it is very beneficial, I must guide others. Possible? Now, after wanting to guide others, there is an expectation that they will also in turn understand and they will respond the way I want them to respond. This is also possible. Having done that, then when they do not respond or they do not understand the way I expect them to, I feel agitated because they fail to catch the logic of what I am trying to say, which I think is definitely beneficial to them. This is the thinking process in which I am moving. So let us try to understand that a little better. Now, nobody likes unsolicited advice. Do you like unsolicited advice? Do I like unsolicited advice? Nobody likes. In fact, the best example of that is our own children. When we try to tell them, no, you're not supposed to do that. How do they respond? You will not tell me that you will not do that again. Ensure that you will not have any complaint coming against you from anybody from outside. We respond the same way. As children do, we also respond the same way when an unsolicited advice is coming from somebody. Even though we may not say that, within ourselves, we are saying, when this bloke is going to shut up. That is our thinking. So, when somebody is advising us against our own choice, we invariably tend to think that, when is this nonsense going to stop? We need to understand this is also our thinking. So, even in close relationships, it is important. What do we do with children? They say that when we're dealing with children, they say that you have to tell them by example. You cannot tell them by preaching. You have to tell them by example. You have to tell them by living an example. We tell them that. So even in close relationships, it is important to make people reflect in their own mind about what is it that you are sharing, rather than tell them that you are supposed to do this. Please understand, there's a difference. If I were to show by example in the way I deal with the situation, and from that you gain a benefit, so that you will be in a position to make use of that in the manner your own mind and intellect is functioning. In that manner, if you were to, if I were to communicate to you, it will be beneficial to you, and you will not think that I am advising. All I am doing is putting across a case example for you to reflect upon and try to make use of it in your own mind the way it is beneficial to them. So the reflection that happens in every mind is different from one to the other, because I said every mind is different. Every mind is different. So reflection happens differently in every mind. So you cannot trust that reflection by your insistence. I say you must think like this, nothing will happen, because it is like वो बच्चे के मन में भूसा भर रहे हैं ना, ऐसा हो जाता है. That is how we are trusting something. So if I were to now take this example of what I am doing now, this webinar called I Own My Life, I put it forward to a few of the connections that I had. I put it forward. Only those who volunteered, they are in this broadcast for I Own My Life. They are part of this broadcast for the talks also every Saturday. Now, in there, even there, some attend, some don't. Some are regular, some are not. So, and in each of those who are attending also, there are different mental makeups. The way A thinks, B will not think. The B thinks, C will not think. Everybody is different because their mental makeup is different. So, what is important for me to do is that I have shared whatever thoughts I had to. I have shared those. Now, having shared it, I must step back to allow that thought to sink in. Why is it that I created this QA session today? So that sinking in process can happen. So there is a reflection on whatever we have done so far. As we go ahead, it must ensure that what we have brought thus far has got some meaning, and that meaning we will take it forward ahead. Now, the filter of ignorance which is within us, there is an ignorance layer of ignorance within us, isn't it? That filter of ignorance has to be bypassed. Only when that filter of ignorance is bypassed can we go within ourselves where that life knowledge, as I said, which is already there. Now, unless I use this example when I was talking about chapter 2, unless I lift both my hands, if I am going under sinking under quicksand, unless I put both my hands up and say help, you cannot pull me out. If I keep my hands inside, or maybe only give you one finger of one hand and say that help, you help me, with that finger if you try to pull me, it will not be sufficient. Then what will happen? You will also sink with me, because then your hand will slip, you will fall inside. So unless I call out with both hands and seek out help, your rescue for me is not possible. So that attitude must come from the recipient of my help, saying that no, I think it is essential that I must seek help. Otherwise, it is impossible for that to be thrust upon, no matter how good my intentions are. It is not possible. We'll take the next thought ahead. Reflection 2. Now, basically, I'm continuing that. So, I believe that this thought that you're sharing with me, whatever you're sharing with me, it is real. It is true. I can understand, with my intellect that this is true. But I'm unable to put it into practice. I believe that, yes, that is true. It is very relevant, etc. But I'm unable to put it into practice. And even to receive such a thought, even to receive such ideas, even to receive this knowledge itself, I feel that this is God's gift. Okay, this is the thought that has come. I will deal with this also now. So, we know that this knowledge is real. As I said, going back to understanding of life itself, life knowledge is actually within us. So we know that this knowledge is real because it resonates with our own idea of happiness. The moment anything which is coming to me, I know that yes, this is going to make me happy. It is going to make me contented. It is going to make me peaceful. I can know that this is real, because that which will make me happy is all that can be real, because our inner nature is to seek peace, and that inner nature of ours uh, recognizes these thoughts. It recognizes the thoughts of what is coming in the form of this knowledge. So we visualize the importance of the thoughts in our own hearts. So when the knowledge which is coming to me, I realize that it is real, because I want to be happy. That is, there's nothing else I want. I want money. I want a nice, good wife. I want 3 cars. I want 4 bungalows. I want a huge, hefty bank balance. All that is fine. Ultimately, through all of them, what do I want? I want to be happy. So this knowledge, when it comes to me, it resonates with me, because it is going to, it is reaching my inner core of happiness. Because my inner nature of seeking that peace through these thoughts is something which I can really visualize. Where? In my heart. So the song that comes to my mind is दिल की नजर से नजरों की दिल से ये बात क्या है, ये राज क्या है, कोई हमें बता दे. This is what it is, the secret. This is why, because we feel happy inside. So what is when I mean happy inside, where? So when I said heart, invariably the our nature is to look for the heart here on the left side of our chest, below the lungs. The heart is situated there, because that is a physical heart. Please understand, the spiritual heart in all of us, the spiritual heart is somewhere right in the solar plexus, somewhere here. That is the spiritual heart in all of us. So the heart that seeks this happiness is the spiritual heart, and not the physical heart. The physical heart has got its own physical functions also. So abhyasa, that is the practice which we are talking about, can happen only if you pick the book. Like, for example, how can you practice something? We say you cannot practice. Why? Because you never picked up the book. I remember an experience from our childhood. We had a small house, a one-room kitchen flat, and our school was very nearby. In the morning, there will be, we know that there is a unit test or something like that. Some test, or some teacher is going to take some exam. And we have to go to the school at 10 o'clock. Our house was so near that we could, leave at 9:45. 9:50 before the first bell rings, we will be in school. Well, the school was hardly any distance. 9:35, 9:40, we will remember that the textbook of our subject which is there today, of which the test is there, it is not there in the school bag. Then there was a corner table. And I think this is the case with many people of that time. In that corner table, the entire world of things will be there. Newspaper will be there, papers will be there, textbook will be there. Any damn thing that you want, you don't find, you will find it there. Rummage through all that and then find out that the textbook is there. Only when I take the textbook and go to school can I do the test. So similarly, unless I pick up that book, unless I pick up that knowledge and wanting to practice it, it cannot become a reality in the practice itself. So the determination is similar. What is the determination required for practice? It is similar to you attending this session every Saturday. It is similar to the determination I have that every Saturday I must do this session. So that is a determination we can understand, because you are able to relate to that in this conversation which is happening. So every Saturday, when we have the determination that this Saturday, this session I must attend, I want to ensure that this session is done, that is abhyasa. That is practice. So when the path is common to everyone, only you enter into that path can you walk that path. So you have to enter that path. So for entering that path, the first step I have to take. But when I enter that path, remember one thing, spiritual path is a one-way street. You only enter. Once you enter, you cannot go back. Because after having entered, it is only a question of how much you progress, how quickly you progress, how you take it forward. For that, again, abhyasa is the only way. Practice is the only way. Continuously with determination, you must work. And that is something which you have to bring within yourself. Like, I gave this example earlier. You want to sui mein dhaga dalna hai. So you very, very focus. You look at that hole and try to use that thread and try to put it into that small hole. That is the attention which is required. Determination. Once you start, there is no going back after that. That is what I wanted to share. Now, how is it that great people, really great souls, great stalwarts who have left impressions for us to follow in life. How is it that they were able to manage their desires? Obviously, a question will come to us, and we know that if we are in a position to control our desires, our world will be peaceful, because my peace depends on the way I control my desires. So if I control my desires, the world will be peaceful. But if I become desireless, that will also be the end of my world. Because if I say I should be desireless, there is no world for me to live in. There is nothing that I can look forward to. Even in my own world, there is nothing to look forward to. Let us deal with that thought also. Now, desire, I have said this earlier, desire is a great motivational force. Because unless there is a desire, there cannot be a motivation for me to do something. So ambition is a driver for all growth. The greatest of industries that have been set up, the greatest of social progress that has happened, the greatest of political or any kind of medical progress that has happened, is because there is an ambition for growth. So there is a misunderstanding itself about the word desirelessness. We seem to catch up the word desirelessness. There is a misunderstanding about the word desirelessness. My talk that I am doing now, you are listening now, is based on our desires. We can agree to that, because I have a desire to share, you have a desire to listen, you have a desire to imbibe this, make it useful for you. So when we say that my world becomes peaceful when I am desireless, what we really are meaning is that there is no desire agitation in the mind. Because if there is a desire agitation in the mind, then I'm not thinking freely, I'm not thinking openly, I'm not thinking positively, I am agitated by my own thoughts. This is what happens. So I just want to bring one sloka from Bhagavad Gita here, which is very relevant and which is good to use also. This is chapter 2, verse 56. Dukkeshu vignamanaha sukeshu vigata sprihaha vitaraga bhayakrodaha stitadhir muniruchyate. What this really means is, in the face of all dukkha, in the face of all sorrows, I will not be shaken. And sukheshu vikata sprihaha, basically in the face of all happiness, in the face of all pleasures, I will not create a sense of longing for those again and again. Vita raga bhaya krodaha, that is dropping the triple combo, attachment, fear, anger. Dropping these, I will become steadfast in whatever I am doing. This is what it was, and we have discussed this many times. So longing for a pleasure that touched me, or disturbed by a sorrow that I encountered, I will not be disturbed. This is what it is first saying, that because every experience that we encounter, no matter what it is, will leave a result. We know that whatever it is that we do, whatever it is that we think, in that there is a result. Now that result could be either positive, negative. It could be good, it could be bad. It could be a pleasure, it could be a sorrow. Any kind of result is possible, because every experience will be governed by factors which are in my control, factors which are not in my control. So either kind of result is possible. So why is it that I need to be looking this way or that way? There's a beautiful Rafi song for this. Man re tu kahe na dheer dhare. Now in that song, there is beautifully, the antaras are really nice and relevant for us to understand this. उतना ही उपकार समझ कोई जितना साथ निभा दे, जन्म मरण का मेल है सपना, ये सपना बिसरा दे, कोई ना संग मरे मन रे. So this is what it is. Now what happens is, the association of things that are dear to me is short-lived. So when that is there, Think that you're blessed that they were with you during that period. When they are gone, don't think that they will always remain with you. There is nothing like, something, a happiness which is born, a joy which is born will continue to remain a joy. It could end up in a sorrow. So don't try to mix both of them. When it is there, live it. When it comes, theek hai, so be it. And the first tantra is again beautiful in that. इस जीवन की चढ़ती ढलती धूप को किसने बांधा, रंग पे किसने पहरे डाले, रूप को किसने बांधा, काहे ये जतन करे. What are we doing? We are actually trying to arrest the pleasures that come to us. Like, the sunlight which is coming, I want to arrest, I want to retain that. The beauty of the rainbow which comes after rain, I want to arrest that. But my dear, they don't last. No, they come to go. So when you understand that is the nature of a pleasure that will come and go, that is the nature of a sorrow that will come and go, then why are you unnecessarily getting worked up? This is what is the message in that. So we have to learn to drop this combo of these triplets. That is attachment, fear, and anger. If attachment is not there, there is no fear of losing. If the fear of losing is not there, the anger at the loss also will not arise. So this, I have said this again and again. Why great people were able to do this? Because they left their imprints for us by managing this triple combination. They rose above their selfish desires and they fixed their desires at a higher plane for the common good of everybody. For you, for me, for them, everybody. This is what the great people have done. So the last thought which I got, I want to share that. Can Bhagavad Gita reading quick fix my life? Can I, just reading of the Bhagavad Gita, can it quick fix everything that is happening in my life? Or why is it that I find that my value standards are shifting? It is never fixed in one particular place. Why is it that I find my value standards are shifting? Is patience and perseverance we are talking about, is it really possible? Is it something which is possible? We discussed that last time. So let us understand this also. Somebody says, I have read Bhagavad Gita 20 times. I have chanted this, I attend this class, I do that. Have you ever tried to find out how many times Bhagavad Gita has read you? You say you have read 20 times, 20 times, 200 times, let it be so. How many times has Gita read you? Because every time you visit the Gita, depending on what is your life situation of that moment, the answers to situations will be different, because your thinking is with your mind, with your intellect, with the imprint of your own tendencies which are already there. So what she does, she only gives you food for thought, for the guidance, for the understanding, and actual implementation is in our hands. We have to understand this. So how sincerely and consistently I apply, it depends entirely on me. The parents, teachers, and the world of experiences, they gave me their values in childhood. I learned that. So like my subjects which I did not remember, geography or history or whatever it is, I did not remember. I don't remember those also, the values that I learned. Whatever values that I am following now are those which I have practiced through my present life experience. So I need to relearn, and I have recreated my value system itself. What and how I learned, how I retained, it depends entirely on my own interpretation of my own desires. So my desires are the one that determine my value systems that I am practicing now. Whereas actually what should have been the case, that the value systems should have encouraged me to determine what my desires should be. That is gone. So now I create a different set of values on the basis of my desires. Whereas those value systems which I learned as a youngster, as a child, that should be relevant for me in putting up the desires that should be good for me, should be practicable for me, should be beneficial for me and my people around me. So patience and perseverance that we are talking about in relearning this entire thing, it again comes from abhyasa, again comes from practice. Now, for example, how did I pass my exam in school? Or for that matter, how did I pass my CA exam? Many CA students will be able to relate to this. That you wrote an exam, failed. Wrote it again, failed. Wrote it again, failed. Many people, I told you, I think I have shared this example with you, that one of my friends, he failed CA final 7 times. Then he passed out. There are two such cases. And after that, one of them went on to become a director in many companies. Another went on to become the CEO of a big multinational corporation. So what happened? So with your patience, with your perseverance, you kept your abhyasa going on. So when I desire something strongly, I can work for it. So the first thing I need to do is create a desire for something higher than myself. Once that is done, this is possible. So if I desire to connect with my happiness in the faith that this knowledge will lead me to that happiness, slowly but surely, I will reach that state of happiness, which is what is nothing but perseverant practice. So now, having dealt with all the questions that came to me, I am now going to deal with what can I say, the chapter 9 briefly, whatever is possible now. I will play verse 1 to 5 of chapter 9.
अथ नवमोऽध्यायः राजविद्या राजगुह्ययोगः श्रीभगवानुवाच इदं तु ते गुह्यतमं प्रवक्ष्याम्यनसूयवे ज्ञानं विज्ञानसहितं यज्ञात्वा मोक्ष्यसे शुभात् राजविद्या राजगुह्यं पवित्रमिदमुत्तमम् प्रत्यक्षावगमं धर्म्यं सुसुखं कर्तुमव्ययम् अश्रद्धधानाः पुरुषा धर्मस्यास्य परन्तप अप्राप्य मां निवर्तन्ते मृत्युसंसारवर्त्मनि मया ततमिदं सर्वं जगदव्यक्तमूर्तिना मत्स्थानि सर्वभूतानि न चाहं तेष्वस्थितः न च मत्स्थानि भूतानि पश्य मे योगमैश्वरम् भूतभृन्न च भूतस्थो ममात्मा भूतभावनः.
So briefly, let us understand this, because now the time left is also a little less. I will just go briefly go. This chapter is called Rajavidya Rajaguhya. Raja, royal. Royal science, royal secret. That is how this chapter itself is called. So it is royal means it is the highest. What is royal? That which is the highest. So when we go for drinking a faluda, we say, what mere ko kya chahiye? Royal faluda. It is the best faluda that you can think of. So royal is the highest form of science, highest form of secret. Now this is actually one of those misinterpreted chapters itself, because many pundits meaning those priestly class, they misuse saying that this is not something which I can give it to everybody. You must become worthy of it. That is what it is. And in fact, in our Brahmins, we have the Upanayanam, in which the Gayatri mantra is chanted by the priest into the ear of the child, by the father into the ear of the child, in the presence of the priest. And there is a cloth which is covering that. But Gayatri mantra is now known to everybody in the world. So, what is the purpose, the idea of that? Any knowledge which is to be shared requires the one important thing for that knowledge is readiness of the mind to receive that knowledge. That is what is important. So it cannot be misused saying that, I am capable, I am eligible, you are not eligible. I will start off with a small exercise. I am very poor. I am very poor. I have, I don't have enough. Not even 2 square meals is possible. I am so poor. And my house is very, very small. Very small hut I have got. Now we are me, my wife and my 3 children. There is not enough space also in that house for 3 of us to live or to sleep. So I go to one very learned man and I say, this is a problem. I am really in distress because of this. I am in distress. So the man asked me, do you have poultry? Because I am living in a village. You have poultry at home? Yes, I have got 10 chicken. Okay, you bring those 10 chicken and put them inside the house. I said, what is this? I don't have space. No, you do that. So I go and bring the 10 chicken and I put them inside the house. Now they are creating a cacophony for 5 of us in that house, and that chicken is also creating cacophony. 2 days later, I go back to that scholar and I tell him, what is this? Already there is so much a problem, and now the chicken is also creating so much a problem. Do you have any animals there? He says, yes, I have an animal. I have one donkey and I have a goat. Okay, bring the donkey and the goat also inside. I bring the donkey and goat also inside. There is total chaos in the inside the house. There is only continuous complaints. So then I go back to the scholar. He said, this is how I will get rid of my problem. What is this nonsense? So he said, okay, now you do one thing. Take the animals back and put them outside where they originally were there. I put the donkey out. I put the goat out. I put the chicken outside. Now inside the house is total peace. Basically, what we don't realize is we never appreciate what we have until something else crowds and disturbs our peace. So we are waiting for something else to crowd our peace and disturb so that we will know the value of our own peace. So especially when there is a secret way of getting that peace within ourselves. That scholar gave me the secret way of getting that peace. First, you understand what is the cacophony which is happening inside you. Then throw the cacophony outside. Once you throw the cacophony outside, peace is already there. Where do you have to go for peace? So for understanding something like this, attention is very, very necessary. When we have attention for understanding something which is so intense, so technical, I said this earlier also, this becomes so intense and so technical. So it is good for us to know as a prelude and get it within our system. So that something which is intense, something which is technical, before we enter into that, it is important for us to know. So we have understood thus far through the QA also how to manage our thoughts, how to manage our mind. Because we need to understand everyone's mind will wander. Wandering is the nature of the mind. You cannot change that. So it is only when the mind is ready can we attract something which is a little more intense. So the idea of managing the mind, managing the intellect is necessary for us to move ahead in understanding how to create that atmosphere within ourselves. How secrets are there? Secrets are, we are so inquisitive. Hey, तेरे को मालूम है क्या हुआ? क्या हुआ? क्या हुआ? उसने ऐसा ऐसा किया. अच्छा. And then किसी को बोलना नहीं. And then you go and tell the another person. तुझे क्या मालूम है? ऐसा हुआ. हाँ, किसी को बोलना नहीं. That is how secrets travel in the form of gossip. So our preoccupation in the mind the moment there is something secretive is that we want to know that secret. We also don't know how to keep secrets. So now what I'm doing is I'm sharing the secret. Chapter 9 is Royal Science, Royal Secret. So we buy large, we buy, sorry, I don't want to take that example now because again, loss of time. So I'm sharing it because when we know that we will not waste it because of our understanding of the previous knowledge of how to manage our mind, how to manage our intellect, we have learned it. So then whatever is a secret that is now coming to us, we will not waste it. So the preparation of the mind is the first step that we need to do. And why this knowledge is important? Because it is the purest of everything that can be known. And it is very easy and very simple and very comfortable to perform. Once we learn this knowledge, it is permanent and it is changeless. So we can apply to every experience that we have in our day-to-day life. So in our past understanding, we must have faith in ourselves. In faith in that higher principle which is there, which we have already learnt about. Because faith is necessary for us to reach a destination. Because if you do not have faith, how can you reach anywhere? Like for example, I am saying I am going from here to, let's say, Andheri. Now, as I travel, I must have faith that the path will become clearer as I travel and I will reach Andheri. So if that is the way in which you proceed ahead in that faith towards your destination, you will definitely reach there. So before I will conclude my session for today, much more in the first 5 verses I played, but I'll just conclude that with the last song. चला जाता हूँ किसी की धुन में धड़क के दिल के तराने लिए मिलन की मस्ती भरी आंखों में हजारों सपने सुहाने लिए ओ चला जाता हूँ किसी की धुन में धड़कते दिल के तराने लिए. This is the way we need to cultivate our heart when we are traveling now in the path of knowing that, which is essential for us for what? Essential for us to make our own life happier, essential for us to work with that faith, with that application of that secret, which will make our life far more beautiful than what it already is. We will deal with those thoughts from our next session onwards. Thank you very much. If there are any questions, if there are any doubts, if there are any suggestions, please share them on WhatsApp, fine. And importantly, as I said right in the beginning, be ready to share your thoughts, probably in the next session also, in every future session. Be prepared to get out of the comfort of, my doubts, self-doubts, what will others think, or for that matter, whether I should speak or not. Please go ahead and share your thoughts. I'm more than happy to receive those thoughts and see if I can make use of it. And I'm really sorry for that short break about this technical difficulty. Really sorry about that. ॐ पूर्णमद पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ. Thank you. Bye bye.